Dear viewers, this topic is intended to introduce our users on the basics for using a computer. Just like we all know, a computer is a very important device that we are familiar with, but we want to introduce our users to some of the basic things about computers and how best these things can be used to access and get the best out of our various computers. Now, handling a computer is not a difficult thing to do, provided the user is well informed about the components and how these various components operate to give the desired result. When using a computer, these various parts must be taken into consideration. We have the case, which we call the central processing unit, which is called, we also have the monitor, which is one of the output devices, and we also have the keyboard, which is one of the input devices, and also the mouse, which is also one of the input devices. The desktop computer is actually made up of some various parts which the user must be familiar with. Just like I said earlier, we have the central processing unit, which is the brain of the computer. We also have the keyboard, which is also one of the input devices. We also have the keyboard, the mouse, which is also another input devices, and we have the monitor, which is an output device that displays and shows the user what he or she has inputted into the computer. Now, the desktop computer has some limitations, so that there has been an announcement, what we call the laptop. Now, the laptop has some parts which the user must also take into recognition. Here we have what we call the monitor. And here we have a keyboard, which is used to input and give command into the system. And here we have what we call the touchpad, which is what we call, similar to what we call the mouse, while describing the desktop, what the user will use to navigate and give some command into the computer system. Now, the central processing unit, which is the CPU, is one of the most important parts of the computer. This part is very important because they call it the brain of the computer. It is the brain because it does most of the calculations of the computer, and it's also the most important element of the computing system. Now, this central processing performs some functions like synergizing what the user is actually processing and bringing it into the output, which is actually displayed on the screen for the viewer, for the user to actually see. We also have the monitor, which is the standard output device. The monitor is a device which operates like the TV set and lets the user see how the computer is responding to the various commands they are actually giving. It shows the output information. And the monitor, which is like the TV screen, can actually be classified into various types. Now, the first type I want to discuss is what we call the CRT monitor system. It's called the cathode ray tube. Now, this cathode ray tube is an old kind of monitor which has some disadvantages, such as it occupies more place, it's heavy, and it has high power consumption. Now, a modification of the CRT gave birth to what we call the LCD. The LCD is what we call the liquid crystal display monitor. And this liquid crystal display monitor has some advantages over the CRT that we discussed earlier on. Now, the LCD, which we call the liquid crystal display monitors, are actually light. They are light, they occupy less space, and they also consume lower power, and they have low radiation, and they also support high resolution. Now, having spoken about the various monitors, we want to talk about the keyboard. The keyboard is a very important input device. This is where the user enters text commands, letters, and figures into the computer. Now, there are different types of keyboard which can be used to give command and input some things into the computer. But one of the most popular ones is what we call the QWERTY design. Now, the keyboard can type letters, numbers, and punctuation. It also lets the user to control the computer effectively. Now, the computer keyboard uses special keys. Like we have the delete keys, which is used to correct while typing. We also have the arrow keys, which is what the user can use to scroll down sideways while giving command to computer. And we also have, for English usage, we have the keyboard, which have like the A, B, C to Z, which can be used to give command and do typing while interacting with the computer. Now, the computer keyboard, if you look at the computer keyboard, you see that we have what we call the function keys, which is the F1 to F12. We also have what we call the alphanumeric keys, which can be used to give alphabetical command and also give number command. Now, we also have what we call the numeric key, which can be used to input numbers into the system. We also have what we call the direction key here, and we also have what we call special keys. These special keys are actually there to give some special functions which will enhance the user to interact effectively with the computer system. The computer keyboard is divided into some keys. These are the numeric keys, and it features digits from 0 to 9. We also have addition keys, subtraction keys, multiplication keys, and division keys, and decimal points. Those are parts of what we call the numeric keys. Also, we have what we call the alphanumeric keys. This includes the letters of English alphabet, A, B, C, etc. We also have what we call the alphanumeric key, which is a combination of alphabets and also numbers. We also have the direction keys. These direction keys are located at the bottom of the keyboard, and they are used for moving around documents and for also playing games and other features. We have the special keys, which are some of these keys include what we call the delete key, the backspace key, the cap logs, etc. Now, the computer keyboard also have what we call the function keys. The function keys consist of what we call the F1 to F12. Sometimes they are combined with alternate key, or what we call the control key, e.g. when you combine the alternate key plus F4, for instance, it is used to close any program that is active on the screen at that particular time. Now, the F2 is also an important function key that is used to rename a particular program or file that you're working with. Now, we also have Control F2, for instance, which is display, which gives us a display of the print preview in the window while working on Microsoft documents. Now, the keyboard has some shortcut keys as an alternative to the mouse. That's if you don't want to use the mouse, sometimes you can use the keyboard to perform some shortcut functions. For instance, the Control C, which is if you press the Control on the key and C, for instance, it will copy the document that has been highlighted. We also have what we call the Control X, which is used to cut, to move, to cut something from a particular location where you intend to place it in another location. That's what we call the Control X. The Control V, for instance, is used for pasting. If you, for instance, after copying something or cutting something from a particular location, you might need to paste it in another different location within a document or in another document. So the Control V helps us to achieve that. The Control O is what you use to open a new document. And we also have the F2, which can be used to rename. Also, we have the Control A. The Control A is used to select all the documents in a particular document you're working with. Now, after selecting, you might need to maybe do some adjustment on what you have selected. That Control A helps you to select all the typing you have in a particular document, either for working or for editing or for whatever the user intends to do with the selected items in the document. Now, the mouse for a desktop is usually like this. The mouse has what we call the left key, which we call the left click button, We also have what we call the right click button, and we have what we call the scroll wheel. On some mouse, you have some mouse that you don't need a USB cord. We call those kind of mouse what we call the Bluetooth mouse that you can use without any cord attached to the system. While for most desktop, you have what we call the mouse that has what we call the USB connector that can be used to connect the mouse to the system. Now, the mouse is a special input device, and it is used to give some certain commands to the computer. And while these commands are being given, the monitor helps us to display, to see what the user is actually inputting into the system. Now, mouse for a laptop actually have what we call the left touch pad button and the right touch pad button, just like what we have on the mouse for the desktop. But they perform similar, the same function, but we're not going to talk about how the mouse is being used. Now, the mouse, just like I said earlier, is an important device with special buttons used for giving certain commands to what? To the system. Now, the primary button is what we call the left click button, while we also have what we call the secondary button, which we call the right click button. Now, using the mouse, the left click, it can be used to select and interact with items on a computer display. Now, the mouse usually is moved around by the user and can be used to move objects, open them, throw them away, perform other actions, or by pointing and clicking with your mouse. That's how the mouse works by the user, using it and directing it towards the area he or she wants. And by pointing towards he or she wants and clicking, by placing the cursor on the intended item that he or she intends to modify or to work on. Now, the cursor is used to select objects on the screen. Now, the mouse requires very little training for the user to use it effectively. This requires a flat surface, just like the one we have here. And on this surface, the user places the mouse, and then he or she will just need to move his hand a little to just and watch how the cursor display on the screen, and that will tell the user how and where the mouse is and how he or she can give different commands by left clicking or right clicking to get the desired result and perform the function that the user intended the mouse to perform. Now, on the screen, there are 4 basic ways of using the mouse button. You can use the mouse button by clicking. Now, by clicking like this. You can also use the mouse. You can use what we call the double clicking function by clicking the left button in 2 rapid succession. You can also do what we call the right clicking, which is the right part of the mouse, by clicking the right and looking at the functions that will be displayed before you and selecting which particular option you want to choose from the various options displayed. We also have what we call the dragging. You can click the left and hold, and this one is used for moving items from one location on the screen to another location for whatever purpose that the user intended. Now, by single clicking is one of the most often function used with the mouse. Now, this is sometimes called left clicking. Now, the left clicking actually, you can use to click on an item. You can point to the item on the screen and then press and release the left button in quick succession. Now, you press and release. You don't press and hold. That's what we call the left clicking. And that function is intended to what? To perform some things like open an item on the menu and all that. We also have what we call the double clicking function of the mouse. Now, the double clicking has to do with you clicking the left part of the mouse in 2 quick succession. Now, you can use that to open items on the desktop, to open folders. The double clicking an item you point the item on the screen and then you click the item twice quickly. Now, you have to do that quickly because if you click the mouse in slow succession, it will be like giving one command twice. But when you click it in rapid succession, you are instructing the computer to perform a particular kind of function. This function is different from when you click the mouse two times in slow succession. Now, we also will call the right-clicking function. Now, when you right-click an item on the system, for instance, you want to open a particular file, you might just right-click it and you see different options available. Then you select which particular option you want to use. Now, to right-click an item, you have to point to the item first by pointing to the item on the screen and then press and release the right button. You have to press and release quickly the right button. That's how the right-clicking function is performed. Now, the last one here is what we call the dragging function. When you come, just as the name implies, it requires you left-clicking and holding, then moving. It is used for moving items from one particular area to another. That's what we call the dragging function. You can move it from one location to another new location that you intended for the particular purpose. The right-click button, the left-click button, and the dragging system, all these are the function when you are using a particular mouse to give command or give some input into the system. And a good understanding of how best to use the mouse will enhance the working with a computer by a particular user. Now, user does not have to move with the mouse. Just moving the mouse in the direction he or she wanted and pointing it to that particular item on the screen enables the user to have accurate relation with the system, and that will display on the screen and tell the user what kind of command he or she has given. And this will be rightly displayed on the monitor to enable the user to know how best he or she has been using the mouse. And this concludes this discussion on how to use the basic components of a computer and how best to enhance the usage by knowing the rudiments. Now, you can see from all this, using the computer is not really a difficult thing to do, provided a user understands the basics that he or she needs to know while using the computer. And to understand this basics, you must know the component parts and what they stand for, and know how to input some command into the system, and know how to use the keypad and the mouse and all that to give effective results while using the computer system. Thank you very much.